So we're going to pick up. So you drove the bomber car a couple of years.
I drove the one that David bought for $100. I drove that for 1 year. Then that's, like I said, my dad.
Then you guys
noticed
built a new car.
Yeah, we built a new car and very competitive. I think we won like 6, 7, 8 features that year. Really, it was some good competition back then. The bomber cars, there was some good guys in them. Kenny Patterson, he always was fast. I mean, Danny Hoare got in a little bit later. Racing Dave was fast. I mean, we had some good both. Donnie Douglas. I can remember the first time I ever drove was the year before I got that orange and yellow car that David bought. I drove his one time on the feature. We come down the straightaway. Somebody got all crossed up, and I'm only 15, 16 years old. And next thing I know, Donnie Douglas is up on the tire, and I'm sitting there at the dead stop sideways on the front chute, and I'm like, holy cow. And back then, you think you're going 200 mile an hour because the wind is up under your helmet, and the helmet didn't fit good anyway, and the seat was too big, and the seats wasn't much back then anyway, but I thought I was flying. It was just like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? So it was pretty funny. But after that, we ran the bombers there for 1 year. That's what they called them back then. Sold that car, moved on up. We got a sportsman car. They had a sportsman class back then that was fantastic. I mean, it was just super competitive.
Now, is this when you started traveling a little bit?
No,
you're still just in Florence.
There's very few other tracks. I think Whitewater and Twin Cities would run some shows for them every now and then, but not constantly. So we ran in Florence primarily. We bought a used car off of Donnie Martin, who was a hot shoe back then. He raced there for several years. Audie and Mike and both of Jack Rice and all them, they were all running sportsmen before I got there. It was a really stacked class.
Sure.
We had a lot of good runs with Larry Moreland Sr. Jeff Marshall was his crew chief at the time, and went on to crew chief for Maryland again. I think he was crew chief before him when they won a dream there. Not too long, probably early 2000s, mid 2000s there. So, I mean, there were some good races there.
Jeff taught me some tricks to the sheet metal business. Yeah, did a little work down at Landis shop. He showed me some little tricks down there and stuff. So.
He's a fantastic fabricator. He's a plumber too, so a lot of times plumbers seem to be pretty handy. At figuring stuff out and getting it done.
Right. Sometimes you got to do more than put pieces of pipe together.
Yeah, it's more than just scrap runs down. You know what I mean? It's like knowing how to put stuff together.
So sportsman car, we did that a few years, and that's decent and successful. Now you got a brother. Tony raced for a little while too, right? Now, did he race sportsman at the same time?
No, he actually he was in sportsman. I think before me, he ran a car, and then when he ran a sportsman, it was starting to get out of control. Like Donnie Martin had an aluminum draining motor, and they didn't have front flips. So Jerry King at the time, who up the track, who's been there forever, he ended up cutting the class out because it just got out of control and made them all move to late models. So Tony got kind of pushed up into, that's my brother Tony, he got pushed up into late models. He ran late models for probably 3 or 4 years, something like that, maybe 5 at the most. But obviously the funding to run late models was expensive, and he was trying to do it on his own, and we only had so much money to go around, and I was already racing. It was a lot. Big expense. So.
Like any class, I feel like, it's not, I mean, we see it now with the late models now. Any class, it seems like that's what they do, is they keep pushing the limits, and next thing you know, they're out of control. I remember we had the super dirt stocks like in around 2000. It was a good class, and there was a full field A and B feature every week. Next thing you know, they start allowing this, start allowing that, and next thing you know, they're full late model bodies on it, and it's like, whoa, man, come on, this is. I sometimes definitely agree and think, I know I've heard it before, that sometimes racers are their own worst enemies.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they want to change the rules to allow this, allow that, allow this. Next thing you know, the cost jumps up, and the competitors.
Kind of where we are now.
Yeah, it's getting there real quick. I can tell in the late model classes for sure.
Oh yeah. So you go to late model in what year?
93. We ran sportsman for 3 years. I think
rookie of the year. That year. Okay.
Yeah. We was driving for Steel Power Tools, Mark Dave Cradler, and Bill Shulman.
This is the black 6 car.
Yep. Yeah. No, that was actually Orange first year.
Orange first.
Drove for them for 2 or 3 years before me when they came over on asphalt. They got in the dirt. Stevie Landrum drove 2 or 3 years for them. And then I drove there from 93, 94, 95, probably about midway through 95. And then we ended up parting ways at that point. So.
Did it seemed like did Weasel drive for him?
Weasel Road stepped in and finished out the 95 season. I think he drove for him for maybe another season or 2 after that, and then I think Brian Stinson got in there.
Yeah, I forgot about Stinson driving too.
Yeah.
I remember, man, those guys always had. You guys took the car down to Cavalcade. Man, that thing was on display with the mirrors and the lights, and it was just like, wow, is this a race car? Or is this just a showpiece, man?
Mark's brother, Dave Kraler, he was a showman. He went to a circuit that one year at the car shows. About 9 of them competed. Had mirrors under it and lights and a turntable.
Oh, yeah.
He built
That thing would just spin around at an angle and just, man, that was super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the show cars, the hot rods and stuff, they're on display. Weren't put on display as well as that thing.
He had a knack of getting it popping, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I drove for them in '93. I think we won my first late model feature, my third night out in the late model. Back then we were driving against Troy Green and Gary Green, and
Johnny Hole.
Monty McWilliams was up in the late models by then. There was a lot of good late models. The competition was pretty smoking then.
Yeah.
We didn't win as many features as we wanted to in those 3 years because the competition was hard. The 4 bars were just coming out, and we didn't really know a whole lot about them.
And what chassis did you have then?
Started out with the Masterbuilt. We ran that for a year. Couldn't really get a whole lot of help out of Masters, and like I said, it was early on for the 4-bar car, and we just didn't know how to adjust it or what to do.
Right.
So the far more we would change, the slower we would get. And we went to Rayburn. After that, we were there in Rayburn for a couple of years, and I think I might have been in a Rayburn still when I got out of the steel car. Yeah,
okay.
And it just had run its course after about 3.5 years. I mean, Mark and Dave and Bill, we were still friends, but I wasn't having no fun. We wasn't winning no races towards the end of it.
When you're not winning,
So
it's tough to have fun when you're not winning.
Exactly, when you're not being up there fighting for wins at least, you know what I mean? So it kind of run its course. I mean, we're all still good friends today. Marcus actually still helps me on the car. And
I was going to say, I've seen you around the track last year.
Yeah, probably about, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago. He started keeping them in his shop, and
that's when he had a place up in Sharonville, Westchester. Yeah.
Probably 4 or 5 years he kept it maintenance and everything, and he still comes down. I could call him today, and he'd be down here working on it today, but he'll be here come race season. He'll probably be down some weekends helping us get together. So his brother Dave passed a few years back, probably about 8 or 10 years ago with cancer. So.
I remember. Now, how is he related to the shirtless wonder, Kevin?
That's his brother, his younger brother. Yeah,
Kevin was a trip. He's a character.
Yeah,
I didn't know he actually had a top to his racing uniform. I thought he just drove shirtless on.
Right. That's what
never had a shirt on his racetrack.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good deal. So from there, when did you guys start running the Bob Series?
That was a little later on. We ran, after we got out of running with the steel team, we finished up. Well, that year there, we had to scramble around. We got a Warrior car out of Tennessee. We got it together so we could continue to race. We raced, I think we went from there. After that, we started running. We would always run every race at Outlaw. Us and Audie and Jerry Rice and Josh Williams and all them. But whenever Outlaw ran, that's where we would go. So we all loved Outlaw back then. Since Outdoor was part of a thing called the Sunoco series, there was a Sunoco race series, which I think may still be going today. We ran a lot of outdoor stuff, so we decided we'd follow that series. So probably from 96, 97 through about 2000 or so to 2001, we ran that Sunoco series, which was like Oakshade, Attica, KC, Eldora, tracks up there, I-96 in Michigan, I think, Mansfield, we went there. We've been to a bunch of tracks up there. It was all pretty long trips, but we enjoyed that series. We used to run against Shane Yoder and Ryan, or Troy Vanderveen and people like that.
Now, did I hear a story about having to change a motor at Eldora? And Earl brought his backhoe over.
That was a long weekend where we had you'd go. There was a swing there where you'd go like it was either a Labor Day or Memorial or something. And you'd go Friday night.
Long weekend.
Yeah, Friday night at maybe Oakshade, Saturday night somewhere else. I think it was Eldora Saturday night, and Sunday we ended up going over to KC. So after Eldora, whether that was a Sunday night race or Saturday night race, we had heard a motor. So we were up in the parking lot up top there where you're lined up to get in now, trying to get it changed out. And we hunted down there, and we used his backhoe to actually pull it out and put the other one in because we didn't have really no engine hoist or nothing. We just had a little pull behind trailer. So we actually changed one out there also. We had I think it was like maybe a 430 Dreamy or something like that, but we had a problem with it early, right before hot laps for the night of the heat races, and a bunch of friends from the stands come down, and we had to change one in the pits and put my 358 in. It was the only thing I had, which was way undersized for there. That's all we had. So about 4:30, 5 o'clock, mind you, the heat races start lining up about 6 or 6:30. We're like, we got to change this. So we all get all in bolted. We take a spud bar, which is big piece of pipe you use
Yeah.
in plumbing, and we slid it through the motor thing, and we wiggled it out, and had 2 guys on each
Each
side,
side.
and lifted that one out, and put it in the other one, and put it right back down in there. So that's what we had to work with.
That's what
So
you have to work with. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So for them, then after the Sunoco series, then came the Bob series.
Yeah, that was early 2000s. I think we ran out about 4 years, 4.5 maybe.
Because I think you
somewhere
picked
like
up a couple wins down at the Bluegrass Speedway down there.
We won on the Sunoco series, and we won at the Bob series. We won more on the Bob series. We won some at Bardstown, Richmond, Lake Cumberland. What else is down there? They didn't have any. They didn't come up to Florence, but the tracks down in Clinton County. We won Clinton County. We won at just about every track it went to down there.
Nice.
I mean, there was a few of them we didn't, but we at least got one win at each show.
So from there, let's see. Gosh, where was I going? I just had a train of thought there. So you win some Bob Series races. That's going to take me to, of all these different tracks, you've named probably a dozen tracks.
Right.
Do you have a favorite of those? On the spot, which one's your favorite?
Wow. I liked Clinton County, and the reason I liked it because it was small and it was racy. We went down there that night, and we actually broke in the heat race. I had some guys that was there that came over and helped us because we were shorthanded, and we changed the J-bar because it tore out the J-bar, tore out the drive shaft, all that stuff, and we barely made it in time for the consi. Started on the tail of the consi, made it out of the consi to the feature, started at the tail of the feature. And everybody's like, you got to be on the bottom here. You can't pass on the outside. And everybody was hugging the bottom. We rolled from the back to the front and won.
On the top or
one on the top? One on the top.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't drive through them. You got to drive around them one way or another.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite races. Now, racetracks wise, I like a lot of racetracks. To say there's one favorite, I mean, you always have the ones you run the best at, you like better than the other ones for some reason, but I don't really necessarily say, I want to run this place. When I was younger, it used to be outdoor all the time.
Yeah.
But now it's not necessarily that exciting to go up there.
It's
If you
tough
crash,
to,
you junk them. If you got a motor problem, you're going to tear it up big time. So.
And again, it's tough to drive an hour and a half or 2 hours when you got one across the hill here.
Literally less than a quarter mile away from Florence Speedway.
Right.
Florence is
maybe
always
a par 2, par 3.
Yeah, probably the most thing I like about Florence Speedway is they run an efficient program and they get you out there at a decent time. And for just traveling, it makes you appreciate it because if you go to a track, say you go 2 hours south to a track, they think a good show is getting you out there at 3 in the morning, and then you still got a 2 hour drive back. You know?
Right,
so it's
right.
like, no,
Josh, a lot of people have different opinions, but man, that guy does run a well-oiled machine. I mean, it's like clockwork. When he says it's 7 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock, weather permitting. Unless he's got stuff that's out of his hands. He does a pretty good job of making sure stuff flows.
Right, exactly. And for racers, that's important.
Yes.
I mean, it's just bang, bang, bang. Let's get this in, get it done.
Yeah. It's nice you get those nights when everything goes nice and smooth, and man, you're loading up and rolling out of there by 10 o'clock. Those are good nights.
11 o'clock. I mean, Pickleheimer up there at Moeller, he's done a good job at that place of getting you in and out. Because if you're going to race on a Friday night, it's very important. And if you're trying to run Saturday, you want to get out there and get home. This past year, we raced up there quite a few times, and there were times we were home by midnight. And that's an hour drive away from us. We were done, loaded, paid, and out of the gate by 11.
And then
I like that little track.
I wish there was something you could do. I've tried and tried, but again, it's a Friday night track. Can you really start any earlier than what they are? I mean, it's tough. You got to give people time to get off work and get home, or then get to the track or whatever. And I get it, but man, if you're trying to run an efficient program, get that thing in as quick as possible, because all these guys, they'll come there if they know that they're going to get in and out, because they're probably racing somewhere else on Saturday. Not all of them are racing in Florence. They're heading back to West Virginia or wherever. They do some traveling, and they like that little track out there. It's a racy little hole.
It's a racy little hole, and I think that Pickle's done a good job of, when he took it over, he's been listening to the drivers of what they want. I mean, later in the year, he tried to bring in a bottom groove, so as a racer, you don't want to be a wall banging one groove all night long, beating your right side off, slide job and tearing up everybody and stuff like that. Especially if you're running Friday night, you're trying to run Saturday. My goodness,
you don't want a week's worth of work in one day to get ready to go to the next night.
In 8 hours. I mean, he moved his back end exit going out of the track because it had a dip going in the 3. He's moved that wall. I mean, he bought something that Lucas Oil makes that's called No Dust to put in his water truck because he had one night it was real dusty and didn't have no problem after
The
that.
dust buster now.
Yeah.
We got a big race out of that.
Yeah, so I mean, he's done a lot of good things, and he's been getting car counts. Heck, he's been getting 16, 18, 20 late models on a regular basis.
And that's good, especially a Friday night track. I think that helps him some too, because there's not too many other places run on a Friday night. So he's going to get those cars. But man, any track nowadays that's getting 15 to 20 plus late models on a regular show it's good.
That is good for just your local and regional guys. You know what I mean? So, and I'd much rather race on a smaller track. I think Florence is about the biggest track that I like to race on as far as like being able to race, because much bigger than that, you get these big tracks that everybody loves the speed, but the problem is everybody just gets spread out. There's not much racing going on. On a smaller track, you get the lap traffic sooner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to dice it up. You got to change your grooves.
The bull rings make it a little more entertaining.
Yeah, congestion and traffic helps with the racing for sure.
Yeah. So bull rings, big tracks. Do you have a particular driver that has been like your biggest rival, or somebody that is who has maybe crossed you the worst, and maybe had you the maddest behind the wheel of a car?
I don't get too upset. I'm pretty low key. I'm pretty level headed. It's been a couple times.
Think about it a day or so, and then react.
Yeah. Scott James and I, we've got together a couple times. We're good friends today, and we pretty much always been good friends. We've had different. I remember over Lawrenceburg one time. He drove through my door.
Drove through the door.
Through my door. This was at the old tracks. That's been quite a while ago. But and then we had a little talk afterwards with about 100 people on each side ready to fight, and wrenches in everybody's hands and hammers in people's hands. It's like this was getting ready to get ugly, but we got.
This was a talk. This was a talk.
Yeah, this ended up. Yeah, it worked out all right. Like I said, I mean, we're still good friends, and I like Scott. He likes me. So the other one that probably made me one of the maddest was we used to run really good down at Bardstown Bluegrass Speed Ran. One year they had our track world championship down there. And this little guy that some people may know as Rodney Combs. He decided he was going to race light models down there. He had a number, I think it's a 5-car Lance car, and we were starting like pole of the Concy. We won a lot of races there, but I mean, obviously it's a dirt track. Everybody and their brothers there. And a lot of heat there, so we were happy to be starting the pole. The Concy were like, we can make this out of this.
Race,
We've got a lot of laps here. Well, on the very first lap, like going to the green, he turns me and spins me out. I'm like, what in the world is he doing?
Yeah, this isn't a guy that's new to the sport or been around
it's like
a very short time. He's been around for quite a while at this point.
So I was hot. I get over the tail, and then, I mean, ran up the Concy 15, 20 laps or something like that. And the Concys were full back then. I mean, I'm 20-something cars deep.
Right.
And I catch his ass going to the white flag, and he's running about 4th. I don't know if they took 4 or 3 or whatever they did, but I do know I got to his bumper coming out of turn 4, and they did not take him because he was sitting on the tire in the infield. I come back around, stopped on the front chute. He's all backed up, he's all back in, sitting up on this big Ute tire. And I just tell him he's number 1. You know what I mean? Like, there you go, you're number 1. So I was fuming. So he didn't make it, I didn't make it.
Did that make you feel better at the time, though?
Yeah, I still feel pretty good. I mean, because I haven't made
instant justification.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's good stuff. See, stuff like that is good stories. That's what the people want to hear. Stuff like this, that's good stuff. I like it. I know. Gosh, back then, I knew I went down with Gary England, the code killer. And Gary, we were down there for one of the dirt tracks. And I don't know if this was the same one, but this was the year that it rained real bad. So everybody was getting like the bales of hay and spreading them out in the pits and stuff. And I think they rained it out on Saturday and ended up running it on Sunday. I think it was one of the years I was down there with him. And it was a good time, man. It was a muddy mess. And so we leave down there and we get back to the shop. Gary's shop, and I left the shop just enough time to drive to work Monday morning and not be late. That's a long weekend.
That was a good track. I hated to see it close down. And me and David Farrell, which is Steve Francis's mother-in-law and father-in-law, they did a great job for several years. But then I think it was Nelson County who's down there. I think some businesses down there started putting heat on the track, and they had to be over 100% by 11 o'clock at night, which first from the start early on Saturdays, and the track got where it was just rubbering up one lane all the time.
Yeah,
It kind of killed the racing because their hands were tied. Yeah.
I can't say I've ever seen a good day race.
Right.
You know, it's just day racing. I don't know if it's the sun or what it is. It's just I've never seen a good day race.
They would have to start around 5, which is sometimes 5. There's still a lot of sunlight left. You know what I mean? So you just burn the track up, and the racing isn't that good at that point.
I know there's been a few times here, especially like last year. It seemed like a late model feature here at Florence was taking the green flag, and the sun was still up. I mean, the sun was going down as the feature was going on. So that's getting in and out. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's good stuff. So you got your rivalries there. You had an incident with Rodney Combs. So now where are we at? I know you guys changed cars here. You guys had some black diamonds for a couple of years.
Yeah, we
called
did.
29 cars.
Yeah, and we really liked those. Those were good cars. Those were some of the better cars I've had. We had some Rockets before that, but the club cars were good. Those first years of them up to about 2016, 17, and 18, we made some changes in them, and they just didn't fit my style very well from that point on. I mean, obviously the one Austin was driving in crates, it was still a 2016
Good crate car.
Club 29.
Still a good crate car.
Great car, yeah. And the one that Daryl's driving now, the Club 29 car he drove last year on a limited basis, was still fast. Yeah, I mean, he did. Look what he did at the World 100.
Yeah.
Very underfunded.
I stopped up and seen Daryl yesterday, and they still got the moneymaker still sitting there in the shop right out of his office. So,
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to try to build any more similar to that or not. And I know he's not looking to get back into the chassis business, but I know he's fond of that car.
Yeah, he really likes that car. He talked one time about maybe hanging it from the ceiling or something. He didn't know if he even wanted to sell it. But
I seen an interview recently. I think it was Ben Shelton, the Road to Eldora, when I think the Quaker State and Lube was talking about hanging it up and wanting to put it up down there in a restaurant or something. And I think he said, I think they was joking about it, but I'm not sure. They said one of the stipulations was they had to clean it like twice a day because Daryl's shop's so clean.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, he's got a pretty nice place up there.
Yeah.
So we got out of the Club 29s. What do we got now?
We got MB Customs. So we just sold Austin's crate car. We got him an MB Custom. He drove my car probably 4 or 5 weekends last year.
Right.
This MB car back when I had hernia surgery, so I couldn't lift anything for 6 weeks, much heavy and stuff like that. So I was like, well, you can do double duty. You drive that one, you drive this one. And
seat time.
yeah, exactly. He really took a liking to this thing. He's like, man, your car drives like unbelievably
Love it.
good. He said, you steer, it goes wherever you steer it. You know what I mean? So he did some good stuff on that. He really enjoyed it. We're like, you know what? He may be ready to go ahead and just take a step. And now is he 100% like ready to win late model races first 9 out? Probably not.
Yeah, there's not too many guys that are. Yeah.
My expectations are not like go out and be a world beater the first year.
Yeah.
He does a good job of keeping his nose clean. He moves around the track. He knows different lines, the run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that
he knows how to keep a car happy instead of being all over the track. He knows how to keep a nice smooth line and keep the car happy.
He's very smooth. He's patient sometimes to a fault at times, but rather than tear it up and coming in on a hook every time, I'd rather him do that, especially when I was trying to figure things out.
Sometimes learning gets expensive.
Yeah, we don't have unlimited pockets. I mean, we fund most of our stuff ourselves. And we got some good sponsors, some decent sponsors that give us some money, but for the amount that it costs to do it, it's pretty small versus having somebody foot all the bill or us striving for somebody else. I mean, I think that the cost of it has obviously gotten out of control, which, I mean, moving him up from crates also, the crate division, I feel like is a good division, and we have a lot of fun in it. And I'm not saying if the late models continue to die off, Austin may fall back into the crates, but if he does, he'll be a lot more experienced from the supers to be able to be faster in the crates.
Yeah.
I know the crates I don't think is the end all be all to the rising cost of stuff. I think if you had every track teching the engines and stuff like that to make sure.
Especially
right now,
your crates.
Yeah, they want to go over there and look. Oh, it's got seals on it. It's good. It's like, come on, guys. We all know better than that. You got guys driving past people on the straightaway 20 mile an hour faster. It ain't just the seals. You know, you gotta have somebody that checks the compression, checks the duration of the cam, the valve spring lift, all
the
this.
bad thing about that is, man, you almost need an engine builder on staff to be a good engine tech guy,
Right.
you know, especially for the crates. I mean, if you're not trained in that area, I mean, you're just kind of going by the naked eye, and some of that stuff's hard to tell.
Right. But at the end of the day, I mean, you can have a rule book 300 pages long, but if there ain't nobody going to look at nothing,
Right.
why even have a rule book? Just
Right.
say, run with
Here's your paragraph. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Make
So
sure the car's safe.
that's the only problem I see with that class and some of these other classes that are supposed to be like a beginner class, stuff like that. It's got beginner rules, which is great, and it's got rules that are supposed to keep it more fair and keep the cost down. But if you have nobody to enforce the rules, I mean, it's going to get out of hand, and it's already kind of getting there a little bit with some of them.
It's getting there.
Yeah, I mean,
racing was never cheap, but it's.
Some people has already left the crate class because they had already said, like, well, I've got what I feel like is the best of everything, and I got guys driving by me. Yeah, I mean, he's
right.
If I can't,
what else can I do to prove it other than cheating?
You almost force people into cheating. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, there's a handful of them at every track that's going to go beyond the rules, and if you don't get caught, it ain't cheating.
It's not cheating if you don't get caught.
What they always say. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. So, all right, these things are getting, like you said, they're more and more expensive every day. Man, what's the next step? What can we do to?
Well, as far as cost wise, I'm not sure there's a whole lot they can do
cost
cost wise.
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of grown to where we're at. It's always hard to take steps backwards, but until your national traveling series starts being more concerned about your regional and local guys of how they can at least not take a knife to a gunfight when it comes to a bigger show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And worry
It's
more about
tough for your
cost.
local. It's tough for your local guys to run when a touring series comes in town.
Yeah, if you don't have a big backer behind you where you got the latest, greatest, and if you don't have enough networking and connections to spend a lot of money to
and
get
an engineer on staff.
Well, yeah, to get the help from the people who do have the engineers, stuff like that, it's hard to keep up with the technology. One reason we went with MBs is because Chris Mars and Jimmy and them are wide open book on what they're doing and stuff like that. You don't get that everywhere you go. I mean, realistically, at Longhorn, do you think if you buy a car there, you're going to get what McCready and Davenport is doing? I'm pretty sure you're going to spend a lot of money to get baseline stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you go up there to Rockets and buy a Rocket, you ain't going to get what B-Shep and the Blue Hauler's doing. It ain't working that way. I'm just telling you. They're out to win money also, and if no fault to them, they're going to give you some baseline stuff, but they expect you to kind of figure out what works best for you. Well, for my situation, I could probably be faster and run more than what I do. More if I had tons of money and tons of time. I don't have tons of money, and I'm running a plumbing business, and I coach high school basketball for my daughter's team, like high school girls basketball. I mean, so the amount of time that my mind has to focus on racing and figure this out, figure that out, and smash machines and shocks with this kind of bleed and this kind of high speed, low speed. I mean, the amount of time that I have to sit around and think about that is pretty limited. So I rely on like Chris Mars. I send my shocks to him, say, give me the latest, greatest, whatever you got cooking.
What I can afford.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they give me everything. So it's been good. It's been a fast car. Now, we bought this car used from Cade Dillard, and we broke a rear end twice. One time warming up our tires, starting on a pole with feature, and another time we had a good chance for a win. A couple guys in front of us come down on a 5,000 win, got together, come down, took me out, and we had some ignition problems. This year was a little bit of some gremlins, yeah. So, but we had some speed too, which is good. If you got speed, you can handle gremlins. But
I knew when you first got in, the thing was fast right off the bat, and you could tell a big difference from the car you just gotten out of. So
right. Yeah.
That was good to see.
Yeah. So, but as far as like what I see as far as what could help. I mean, you got a lot of guys getting out of late models because of the technology. Now, that's a double-edged sword. You want to keep the sport moving forward because you want to keep technology coming in and fresh minds and young minds and stuff like that. But at the same time, when the technology gets so far out of reach of your regional and local guys to where they can't compete or can't keep up, eventually they get tired of working in the garage and they get tired of throwing all their money at it and stuff like that to feel like they can't compete.
I haven't read all the rules, but I think that's what maybe Pickleheimer was trying to do, and a few other tracks trying to get together with their sport mod class. You know, it's kind of somewhat of a beginner class for anybody that doesn't want to start out in a compact. You know, then your next step is there's not too many of the bombers and the street stocks around anymore, so now you have like a dumbed down version maybe of a modified, and they're just trying to keep that down a little bit more. Like I said, I haven't read through all the rules, but I think that's what their goal was for that, and I just don't know that in the late models, is there anything that can be done about that? You know,
I think
that ship may have sailed a long time ago.
it probably has. Some people's given up on it. Some people's been like, well, that's just expensive. If you want to do it, you got to spend the money, which is one way of thinking. But if you want to save the class, you got to really dig in and think, what can we do to make it a little more competitive versus a guy coming in and just smoke everybody. So, I mean, realistically, the motors, and I'm looking at one sitting over there right now that you just picked up for me about a week ago down in Mississippi. But anyway,
I wasn't going to say it, but
yeah. I mean, a new motor is about $50,000. You can find a good used one, probably between 20 and 30. And people have pretty much settled in on the motor's going to cost what they're going to cost. That's what it costs.
Yeah.
I think that the cars here, I mean, a new car, you're looking at $50,000, but you can find some good competitive used ones for probably in that 20 to 25 range, half of that. Right. So I think people have settled in on that. The things that I think are probably gotten a little bit out of hand is, I mean, the shock packages are, I mean, 6,000 to 9,000 to 12,000 a piece. For shocks. And I mean, you're constantly working on those things. Right.
And these are pretty delicate parts too. I mean,
they are.
These probably break. What I would say probably more common than.
They're pretty durable. They're pretty durable. I feel like, and I mean, I feel like they could probably try to help some with the expense on that. Not that the shocks guys would like that very much because they want to sell shocks for a lot of money. And
sure.
They did it out.
And the engine builders, the engines, the chassis guys, the chassis.
The engine builders, I feel like they've not really charging a whole lot more to put them together than they used to, but the parts have gotten so expensive and the parts are getting harder to get with the shortages that we have, stuff like that. That's one thing that's probably going to put a dent in racing this summer is for people who feel we got one motor in your brake, then you could be waiting a couple months on parts. You know what I mean? So same thing with.
So with parts, we'll go ahead and mention that. Your engine builder, you've had him for a long time.
Yeah.
Mike Dargy.
Yeah. Richmond, Indiana.
So the other day I was up there, and again, you know, there's parts everywhere, and there's probably 40 or 50 blocks on the floor and heads laying all over the place. And I'm hearing the guys talk about, yeah, we can get all the stuff and don't have everything we need to finish putting them together. You know, right. So that's definitely going to be something we're seeing continue from last year into this year is not being able to get everything we need.
Right, and that's going to be a big strain on the sport, I feel like. I mean, and there's not a whole lot of, obviously I was looking for a good used motor for Austin to get started in the Super Late Models and just searching the market for that. There's not a whole lot of good stuff out there. People that's got used motors are holding on to them longer, you know what I mean, because they can't get a new one built or they're waiting on parts to get one built, you know what I mean? So, and it's the same way. We sold our trailer, we're trying to get a new hauler, we're looking at haulers, and they're just ridiculously priced because
and every time you find one, the deal falls through or somebody jumps in front of it.
I saw a 40-foot trailer the other day. It was all set up for late model, beautiful trailer. I looked at it before. This was yesterday, actually. We had a girls and boys doubleheader high school basketball game. It was 12-2. Lost the girls game, and the boys won. So we ended up. I was looking at my phone probably 11 o'clock. And I helped coach on the 12-2 game, and then at the 2 o'clock game. I get on my phone looking again. I look at those websites. It's kind of selling all the Facebook ones, toters and haulers and all that stuff. And a trailer went on there, and I'm looking at it. It's perfect. I'm like, yeah, it's expensive. It's all expensive. It already sold, and it had only been up 4 hours. You know what I mean? It's like you got to be on your phone constantly. You got to be ready. Tried to buy another truck over there in Iowa, a little toter truck. Guys, I was texting the guy, said, this was Saturday afternoon, it just come on, I'm on it like crazy, and I'm like, I'll be there Monday with the check, you got a bank we can go to, you got the title, somebody can transfer it, I want to drive it back, blah, 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 and the guy just ghosted on me, and then we're talking in the middle of talking, and I see like the next day, and it's like, oh, I already sold that, somebody responded to somebody else, I'm like, here I am offering, I'll take it, I'm not beating it out on price, that's what I'm looking for.
I'll come more like tomorrow.
You know what I mean, and it's just gone that fast, that's just how it is. So, but I think with late model racing, something that could make it a lot better, a lot more affordable, where a little guy could help out. Everybody's like, oh, the motors and this and that and the bodies and all that stuff. And it's like, well, first off, the bodies, let me get this straight. I mean, up there at the PRI show, we made this big deal like we went in the back room and delivered a baby or something because we changed body rules. I mean, at the end of the day, how many regional and local guys does that really affect? I mean, that is so minimal. And how much money did it save the racer? I mean, when Steve Francis was racing,
probably not. I mean, what the dimensions doesn't do anything with the dollars.
When Steve Francis was racing, if he come back from PRI show, yes, we could change the body rules, and he looks at his checkbook. I mean, that's not affecting the bottom line whatsoever. You know what I mean? All that helped out was your traveling guys that are that got tons of money that are running World Outlaws, Lucas, and maybe some UMP stuff so they can go to different series and still compete. But at the end of the day, it's not helping with any of the cost or competitiveness of the sport.
So these are the body rules. I haven't read those either.
Right.
Just devil's advocate. With those body rules, would that help the cars any so that maybe they don't need such big motors anymore? I mean,
no, in my opinion, I think the motor, I think if they could get the bodies a little, they're starting to put them on so crooked and everything else, it was getting where one, they were ugly, but they were so air dependent. And you can see it on bigger tracks where guys just lose the nose and stuff like that. So there did need to be some adjustments there, but there's a lot of other areas they could be looking at. If they wanted to make it where a smaller guy could compete without a $50,000 motor, they would start looking at the suspension parts. You know what I mean? Because now we're stack springs and bump stops and rubbers and just all kinds of crazy stuff.
Right.
I think if you just limit the one spring per corner, take away the bump springs, the bump stops, all the combination springs and stuff like that, I just think that one spring per wheel, if you wanted and that was it, no bumps, no nothing, I think that would get it back to a little more conventional stuff where it was a guy that's not got all the technology and can't spend 12 hours a day on a smash machine and stuff.
I've said this for a few years now, and again, I'm not a touring series director of any type, or I don't know. I know a lot about race cars, but there's way more people know way more than I do.
Right.
But I think I've said, man, I think I could solve a whole lot of late model issues. It'll never happen. It's like if they take late models and put them on modified tires. I think that'd solve a lot of problems. It'd take out a lot of suspension. It'd take out big motors. Yes, that'll never happen. But
that's what I was getting at on all the stack springs and all the craziness that's going on in suspension. If you take traction away, then you don't need that much motor. You know what I mean? You can get by with a motor that's a lot less horsepower. If you can't hook up 900 to 1,000 horsepower, what good is it to heavy? We're already choking them down with restrictors and stuff anyway. So it's like you take traction out through the suspension, that fixes your motor deal. You know what I mean? If a guy wants to spend 50, he can, but a guy could probably get by with a lot less and still be competitive.
When I first started driving modified, drove modified for a few years there, and my first modified, I'm looking at, man, these got 8-inch tires on them. I've got a nice little healthy 406. I don't have a big 421 like some of these guys. So I'm like, man, how are you guys hooking these things up? I'm still spinning tires with a 406, and it's like, after us get some experience, see a difference between a nice dry slick track versus a heavy track. Oh yeah, that big motor does help out a lot.
Right. So there's been talk, I've heard rumors about like Lucas allowing the 525s to be able to run and stuff like that. And Josh, I think, had talked about allowing them at Florence.
Yeah, I know Josh has looked at several different options and how we can do that and make it work. You know,
the big problem with that is most of the times early in the night, whether it's an early heat or qualifying, that it's got bite in the track. So you need to have something that you can dig with to be able to hopefully qualify good enough, start close to the front of you. If you get buried early in the night because you qualified bad and you're hoping later in the night with a 525, you're going to drive by a Clemens 430 driven by Jonathan Davenport later in the night. It ain't going to happen. You ain't going to be in the show. You know what I mean? You're buried.
What do you think about a steel blocks on a local level? Would that help any? Just if you had locals on steel blocks and the guys that want to be your regional guys and the bigger shows.
I think back in the day, Tampa was probably on the right path where they had the small motor and they had a weight brake. Again, everything we're talking about was suspension and steel block stuff. We're just moving backwards on technology, which I don't know that's even a great thing. I'm just saying things that would help it be more competitive for a smaller guy with less resources to be able to at least feel like he's not going out there and just looking foolish against the pros. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I think there has been some tracks offering bonuses for steel block guys running with the supers, which has helped kind of a little bit fill in some of the field stuff.
Yeah, because you still got some smaller teams that still run a steel block, or occasionally you got the crate team that hey, they want to go and get laps in, but if they can maybe crack a top 10 or top 15, and if they're the top finishing steel block, then there's a little bonus and a little incentive for them to try that.
And we ran that some last year as far as like Austin, 50% of the races he ran at Moeller, but between Roller and Bowler, and we ran the supers at late model in his crate because they weren't running crates.
Right.
We found ourselves basically just getting laps. Well, at some point in time, even for those guys running for the steel block bonus, it's the mindset of, well, I'm going out there to not looking to win. Most
Right,
people
right.
want to have that
Sure.
opportunity to win.
You want to be competitive. That's why you're out there.
It's only fun for so long to run 12th, and I was the highest finishing steel block guy, and he gave me $100 and a hamburger to come. Yeah, I mean extra.
Right.
So it's like at that point, it's kind of like. But I mean, sometimes at Florence, those crate guys are faster than late models. You know what I mean? When it gets slick, which is very rarely, because usually it's wide open on the cushion.
Mm-hmm. It's a different animal over there sometimes.
Yeah.
So we've went over the cars pretty in detail there. Tell us a few things. What's a few things that the fans, the viewers, people that they just see the 33 going around the racetrack. They don't know Jesse Lay. Mm-hmm. Tell us a few things about Jesse Lay that just the people in the stands don't know.
Most of them probably don't know that I've coached basketball for about 20 years. I played basketball in high school, played basketball in college.
Now, did I hear you did a little boxing? I
trained in boxing for about 9 months to a year, just when I was driving a steel car.
That could have been a Clemmy story too.
I was just doing that mainly for eye-hand coordination and skill set, and I was out of basketball and had time on my hands, and I wanted to stay sharp. So I did that a little bit down in Covington. Let's see. What else do I need to know about me? I've been a plumber for all my life since about 8th grade. Worked for my dad, got in that. With my brother and I took that company over back in the early 2000s, right around 2000, 2001. So we're still running that every day, family owned and operated business. So that keeps us pretty busy, you know what I mean? So
good. You guys got pretty good sized plumbing business there.
We do. We run a lot of trucks. We employ a lot of guys. We got a great company because we have great employees. I tell my guys all the time, like, the reason we have a great company is because you hire great people, and if you find the right fits and the people that are good people make good companies. And it ain't necessarily just being a good owner. You got to have good people.
It's not all upper management, but it's
a team effort.
It's
a team effort. So we focus a lot on that. That's what eats up a lot of my time. You know what I mean? Because it's like busy, obviously construction. We went through a bad time there in 2009, 10, 11 when all the construction crashed and the economy took a dump. We had to downsize. Took us a few years to kind of crawl back from that, but we're very strong now and things are going good and we're in a good spot. So hopefully I can free up a few more Fridays this year to go racing on Fridays.
I think back in that 09 area there where you're talking about, at the time I was doing union ironwork, and I know for the whole year I worked a total of 6 weeks on the books. I worked 6 weeks out of an entire year. It's like, man, how do you base paying your bills and provide for family on 6 weeks income out of 52? You know?
Right.
It's like, maybe I have to start looking at other options.
Right, exactly. So we've been through some ups and downs, some hills and valleys like that. So that we're doing, like I said, we're doing well now, and we're having some fun. We're going to have some fun this summer. We're going to travel a little bit more.
So that leads into the next thing. This year, you guys got plans. You and Austin. Austin's going to be up in the Super now.
Yep.
And try to have some more fun with him and Supers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm probably not, he'll probably race more races than I do, because trying to run 2 races every single night. I mean, that's double the tire work, double the washing, double the body work.
Double everything. Double the bills.
Double everything. And not to mention, I'm not looking for a 2-car hauler, so we'll have to be 2 trucks and 2 trailers, because I mean, I'm on the downhill side of my career. I'm still going to run some, but I ain't going to run like 50 nights a year for the next 5 years.
That leads to my next question. So how much of the drive is still there for Jesse? I mean, I know you still want to win.
I still want to win.
You still want to win. How much longer do you feel like you're still going to want to win?
I still want to win every time I get the car. It don't matter. Look at Vernon Fevers. He's 80 years old. I still want to win every time I go out. But, at the same time, for me, Austin's now driving, and it's going to be hard for us. We're running in the same class, so I'm trying to help him at the same time move his career forward. So if we're both running, we can work together a little bit on what's working, what ain't. But at the same time, I can't watch him if we're out there racing against each other to see what he's doing, to be able to help him.
It's going to be relying on a lot of the crew help at that time. Hey, what did you got to see, and be able to relay good, valuable information.
I'm still going to run a lot this year. We're leaning towards running a lot of those Ironman races with Chris Tilley, and Austin may run the full thing, just because we like what Chris is doing. It's more of a regional type deal. We feel like we could make races and probably compete at that level. I think those levels are going to get a lot more popular than some of your larger series levels, because like Chris, just for example, I mean, he's allowed American racer tires. American Racer tires are about $50, $40 cheaper than what the Hoosiers currently are. You know, I mean, the Hoosiers just took a big jump. I mean, they're going to be $225 or $250 is what I'm hearing. And you're looking at almost $1,000 a set of tires on the car.
Now, did the winter break, do you know, or has that helped Hoosier get caught up? I know for a little bit there and toward the end of the season, they were having a hard time keeping up with the band.
So what I'm hearing is the demand, there are still shortages, it's still hard to get. That's everything I'm hearing. I haven't talked to them directly. I know last year, from July on, they were struggling and they were trying to put tires wherever they could, and they were turning out tires that basically no sooner than they could get them out of the mold and get them on the truck that were being delivered, which in turn, for me, I put them on the car and an 8-lap heat race or jumping tires. You know what I mean? So I can't jump a set of rear tires every time I go out. And basically, like I called the lady, and I usually was like, what's going on? I mean, these tires are not less than 8 laps.
Right, they're not last past the heat race.
So there's nothing we can do about it. Basically, they don't have the curing time, and I don't know if that was because the Future didn't have the materials to build the tires in time, that they were getting shortages of the material they were getting built, and they may still be, or if it was just, I heard they had lost some people through COVID and through some like trailer salespeople up there that was taking employees and paying a lot more money.
From what I understand, from what I hear, that they're manufacturers of, that's what, Elkhart, Indiana. It's like a camper capital of the world. There's like multiple camper manufacturers up there, and just the labor prices, I mean, you just name the prices, and they're just paying people through the roof. So, you know, you got guys who've been at Hoosier for 20 years, leaving to go work on campers for a $20 an hour raise. You know, it's like, it's hard to keep good employees. You know, and that's anywhere.
Exactly. And with their tires going up, I mean, I get it. It's the inflation because, I mean, everything's going up. I mean, for us, PVC pipe fittings and stuff's going up. At the same time, if I'm a racer, and I see an American Racer tire over there for $165, and I'm looking over at those Hoosiers for $225 to $250. I'm going the American Racer route. But unfortunately, a lot of promoters, a lot of series and stuff, they jump on sponsorship money and say, "Oh no, give me sponsorship money. Now I'm going to. You only have to run Hoosiers, and we're only going to give you these 3 compounds." Well, now they're talking about an international 3-compound Hoosier tire rule. That's like, why is tires the only thing?
Ever heard of the game Monopoly?
Yeah, why is tires the only thing on a race car that we don't have multiple sources for or multiple vendors for? I mean, heck, I wish I was the only plumber in Kentucky. I'd be making so much money. I'd have no competition. I'd charge what I wanted. But it's like these tires, for some reason, these promoters and these series and stuff, they want to jump on it. And again, now their bigger picture is we're going to lock it down across the United States. I mean, they should let American racers in. If Goodyear wants to make them or whatever, let them in. I had one promoter tell me, well, if we just limit it to 3 and they're Hoosiers, then like American Racer, if I let them in and allow them with 3, well, if their tire, they'll start working on their tire and say their 48 is better than the 1350 Hoosier, and then Hoosier makes up something better in the 1350 that beats the 48. And it's like, well, as a racer, it's competition. I want the best tire that's going to perform the best. I want the best tire that's going to last the best. Yeah, I mean, and last more than 8 laps. I mean, again, some of that's the fault of shortage of people, shortage of supply, shortage of pure times. I get all that, but at the end of the day, we need to have tire options, at least 2, and if not 3. And if the promoters don't see that, I mean, these guys, we can't just keep buying tires every single night to put on the car.
I think we just read a post, was it last week, from out of Lake Cumberland, Brandon Hargrove. Yeah.
He said, I'm not taking the sponsorship money, and you can run American Racer or Hoosiers. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, you're probably going to be seeing me a little more. I ran American Racers back when I ran the Bob Series. Loved the tires. Tony Rose was the tire guy. They held up. I mean, you could run your 44s and 48s multiple nights. I mean, you wasn't burning them up like we do these days. I mean, again, a lot of stuff's changed, and some of it, I don't know what part of it has changed. And I heard American Racers were having some of a shortage also. But at the end of the day, if they're having a shortage and I can get a set of 44s for the back and I can run them 3, 4, 5 nights, or I can get a set of 1350s and run them 8 laps, I can tell you where my money's going. We got 2 cars. Yeah. We got several tires we're going to be using. Last year we didn't even run that much, and I bet my tire bill was $8 or $10 grand last year.
And that was on a limited schedule.
Yeah, with 1 crate that you don't burn up tires on. You know what I mean? So very, very limited schedule. So you can't afford to keep throwing money away like that. I mean, at some point in time, you just got to, as a promoter, you got to look and say, okay, maybe that $1,000 in the 3 purple jackets I get or whatever ain't worth how much cars I'm losing.
Am I running cars off? Am I losing cars because of that?
Right. You know what I mean? So I know down south they have for a while. They've allowed American racers and Hoosiers on the modifieds. That hasn't been a big issue, but on the late models, it seems like a lot of places you go, oh, you can only run Hoosiers and you can only run these 3 combines. Well, I mean, that allows you to make whatever quality of product you want and charge whatever you want. You know, I mean,
Right.
Again, I get it. Prices go up and the sport's expensive, and I'm not marking about that, but we'd like to stay in it, keep doing it.
As long as you can.
A lot of other people that would like to stay in it, keep doing it, but we're
Yeah.
running them off because everything has gotten so expensive and so much technology.
So the other night I did a phone call with Ron Jerger Jr. He gave me a bunch of stats and stuff, and I know we've kind of went on for a little bit. Probably don't have time to get into all of them. I know you've got several hard charger awards, rookie of the year, several championships. Is there another championship in Jesse Lay before he retires?
I don't really run for points, and I haven't. I don't think Florence is going to run for points anymore, and I don't think there's anything ahead of me that I'm going to run like for points for.
Yeah.
I've not really ever been a points racer, to be honest with you.
It just works out.
The years when I ran at Florence, I wasn't really running for points. I'm running for wins. You know what I mean? If you run for wins every night, points take care of themselves, and if you end up with a championship, you get a championship. If you don't, oh well, we went out because when you start points racing, you start, oh, don't get too close to that guy, and don't shoot that gap and stuff like
Start
that.
laying up a little bit.
Being more on the safe side.
Yes, being on the safe
a little
side.
too safe, just finishing races. And, I mean,
That's not a racer mentality. You want to go out and win.
we want to go out and win. Yeah, we want to go out and win and run hard.
Okay. Well, in closing, Jesse, I think we've covered a lot, man. Is there anything else we need to go over? Anything else you want to say, or tell the fans, tell the world? What else you got? Anything?
I don't know. Not really. I mean, we've done this a long time, like I said, and we're going to continue to do it with Austin coming on here. Looking for some fun stuff this year. Going to be hopefully a big year. Got to thank the guys that's helped me forever. Obviously, my dad. Me and him got in it together and been doing it forever. It's kept my family super close over the years because I'm always down here working on the cars, or we're going racing together or whatever. It's probably the biggest thing about racing is it keeps families close. Met a bunch of great people through there. Gosh, I've got people that's helped me on the car for 25 years, 20 years, like Mark Kraler and Tom Richard and Darren Gosney, and Troy Perry's been with me full time since 2008. And Joe Gibson was with me there for a while. Of course, Austin, ever since he's been born, he's been to the track.
Right.
Racing, I met my wife and through racing, 1988, and up at Eldora Speedway. Her dad had been coming to Florence Speedway since she had been born, and I didn't even know her. And David and I were, back when you could rent 4-wheelers up there, we were tearing up the place with 3-wheelers. Actually, that's how long ago it's been.
And they were 3-wheelers.
She jumped on the back and was riding with me, and it's been off in the sunset since then. So she chased me around a few years. She finally caught me, and we got hooked up and had 3 kids. And it's been good. She's a big race fan too, and
that always helps.
Oh yeah, she grew up at the track and she gets it. If anybody knows Charlotte, she knows the Turn 2 crew over there that she's got over there every weekend.
You always see at least 15 or 20 Outlaw shirts over there.
Yeah, she has a pretty good little group over there. They all have fun. Come out and they tailgate early in the day and stuff like that. And my mom and my brothers and them, they sit on the front chute behind the flag stand, so they've always sat over there. So it's a good time. Again, this year we're going to miss a little bit of that because our show will go on the road some. I think Josh has said he's going to change the schedule and he's not running late models every weekend. So I think he's cutting it back to once or twice a weekend, or once or twice a month, and paying a little extra money. So that's going to force us to travel a little bit. So we'll be hitting a lot of molars on Friday nights. We'll be doing the Florences probably when they run, as long as they don't conflict with the Ironman series stuff. Because like I said, we're going to try to maybe do that. That's what our initial plans are right now. We'll see how that works out. I mean, get out of the gate and run a few of them, see how it goes. They're going to be within a couple hours of where we're at here. It makes some sense. So we're gearing up. We're looking for a hauler now, something with a little bit of living quarters in it. We're going to stay some nights here and there and do some stuff like that. So big things, fun things. Again,
keeping that family together, having fun.
Yeah, hoping to take a few more Fridays off this year, because the last 8 or 10 years we ain't been able to do much of that. It's been work till noon or 1 and then hurry up, run down, try to get loaded to get over to Moeller or wherever we're going. And
save me a spot.
Hey Smalls, save me a spot over there, will you? And then I get over there and there's no spot saved. There's no Volkswagen in there. I'm like, come on, Smalls. So, but yeah, all in all, I'd love to see us have a good season, see the late models. I think the late model races that are around, they're all paying 3,000 to 5,000 or so. Some of them's 10,000. I think you're going to see a lot more guys running around doing that. I think the bigger touring guys, a lot of them are looking very hard at picking and choosing instead of staying committed to a series.
We're regional, a lot more regional guys, which is going to make better quality of racing in your regional and local races.
I mean, I think Devin Moran and Brandon Overton last year proved that you don't have to be running a series because only one guy wins every week, every night. So
and those guys were competitive everywhere they went.
Everywhere they went, and they wasn't driving an hour from their shop, past the track, an hour or two from their shop, 10 hours away because there's a 10,000 up there 10 hours away, and driving past the 15. I mean, it just didn't make financial sense. I think you'll see more of that this year with the escalation cost of everything and the travel and the fuel and everything. I think you'll see a lot more of that.
I heard Vern Lefebvre say one time, he said he'd never been to Brownstown just because he couldn't see driving past two racetracks to get to another one.
Right.
Well, you're going to drive by two of them when they're paying the same. So why drive another hour just to get all the way out there? I get it.
These little regional series, I think, are going to do well. That's popping up. Like I said, last year we went to Portsmouth. Austin filled in for me one time. I think he had never even seen the track, and we got there late. I put him in the car and said, "Go up there. There's where you go on the track." And right before him, Tyler Carpenter's in the fence, tears his whole decky off. Austin's like, "Holy cow!" So
okay, that's what not to do.
Yeah, he has to go out and see what the track looks like before he even goes. But anyway, I think we went up there for like a 5,000 to win, and they had almost 50 late models. And the very next weekend, they had Lucas Oil there for like 10 or 15 grand to win, and they had like 23. You know what I mean? So a lot of guys are thinking the same thing. Like,
I think sometimes maybe that scares off some of the competition too.
I think it does. I mean, when you
some of your local and regional guys, I got no business being out there with those guys.
I think that's the part that I think Lucas and World of Outlaws and them have to figure out a little bit in order to quit losing more and more coming to them. So they're going to get to the point where they're probably struggling to fill the fields, but you're going to get these guys that used to always come and are like, nah. I mean, the big guys have all the technology, they got all the money, they got all this hired help, they got all this, the latest, greatest stuff, and we just can't compete. You know what I mean? So if it gets to the point where you can't compete, you're not happy going there just to try to run it constantly, get your entry fee money back, and get back to the house 2 hours away. That's
not worth that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a hard thing to figure out. I mean,
I'm glad it's something I don't have to figure out.
Yeah, me too. That's why I guess they make the
big bucks. That's why they make the big bucks.
Yeah.
Good. All right, Jesse, well, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to throw the checkered on this episode. Guys, we appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in, watching me and Jesse here just talk about racing stories, and that's what we want to do here at Slingin Dirt Media. We're going to hit lots of other different local drivers. Like I said, we're going to do Northern Kentucky area, Ohio, Lawrenceburg, just Indiana, wherever we can get. I'm not going to just focus on late model guys. We want to hit some of our mod guys, sport mods, compact guys. I'm sure we'll talk to Jody Shannon and DRC crew at some point. There's just so many local racing stories that we want to get out there and get to the public. And I've said this quite a few times, bringing this up. We've got 3 local dirt tracks within a 40-minute drive of downtown Cincinnati, and probably, I'd say, 90-95% of the population in and around the city don't even know these tracks exist, and it's good entertainment, it's fun, and we just want to try to get the family, the friends, the fans out there, the people that's never been there before, and give them an opportunity to check it out. I know that the Kings do a free night at the track, so go to FlorenceSpeedway.com, check their schedule out when it comes out here. I think maybe later this month.
Yep.
I'm sure that'll be on there again. It's something that the King family, it's good to try to get those people an opportunity to come and see what the racetrack does, without having any investment into it. So again, there's other racetracks in the area. Check them out. You'll get to meet some of the drivers here, not just see the cars and the numbers going around the track. You'll get to meet the driver and get to know his personality and who he is, where he's from, and where he's been, and get some of his thoughts. And that way you got somebody to root for when you go to the track. So thanks for watching. Don't